Welcome to Sane-ish, the podcast for people healing from trauma, addiction, abuse, mental health struggles, grief, narcissists, and every other flavor of chaos life can throw at you, and somehow still functioning, mostly. I'm your host, Holly Broughton, survivor, truth teller, boundary setter, and proud member of Still Healing, Still Hilarious Club. Around here, we don't do shame or embarrassment. We don't do perfection. Just real talk, dark humor, hard truth, and a whole lot of hope. Because sanity is overrated. And healing, that shit is messy. This is Sane-ish. Let's get into it. Disclaimer. On the Sane-ish podcast, we discuss personal stories of alcoholism, addiction, mental health, chronic illness, narcissistic abuse, domestic violence, parental alienation, grief, loss, homelessness, as well as many other forms of adversities in life. Our intention is to be inspirational, educational, identifiable, and resourceful. The views and experiences shared are in no way meant to praise or condone any illegal or harmful behavior. This content is for educational purposes only and not intended as professional advice. If you or someone you know is struggling with any of the above, we strongly suggest seeking help from a qualified professional, support service, or hotline related to your specific issue. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sane-ish podcast. And today I have my friend Jo, and she is a friend of mine back from Charlotte, North Carolina. And she used to actually go with me to some treatment centers, and we used to hang out and share the word with some people. And she was a lot of fun to hang out with. And I'm so glad that she said yes. And it's so nice to, rekindle some friendships with people that you haven't seen in a while, and talk to them and see what they're up to. And I am so happy for her because, and she'll probably get to this in her story, so I don't want to kind of give it away, but she's just blossomed, and I'll let her get to it. But from where she was to where she is now, it's amazing. It's amazing. So welcome, Jo. I'm glad
Thanks.
you're here.
Again, thank you for asking me to come. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I just started.
So why don't you just have at it and tell us how it all began?
Okay. So my name is Joellen Bryson. I was born in California to a single mom. I have three sisters. They're all way older than me. My mom was, I want to say she was 37, 38, something like that when she had me. So there's a big gap between me and my sisters and me and my mom. My mom was not from there. She was from North Carolina. And so I think when I was about 2, maybe 3, but I might be stretching it. It's about 2. She came out here to be with her family, like her dad and her mom and stuff. And I never knew my biological dad. It was kind of obvious. I don't want to say obvious, but it was told to me from an early age. Like, if your dad didn't want you, he wanted me to have a divorce. I have the best way to kind of explain the family I grew up in is a lot of learned helplessness. Like, bless them, they were, my mom was an alcoholic. She was an addict. I don't think she had any mental health issues. She was raised up in Bryson City. So she's like the hills, you know what I mean? It was just her thoughts on raising a child was just keep me alive. And I know now that my mom can't give me something that she doesn't have. I do believe with my whole heart that my mom loved me very, very deeply. But, through a lot of my own healing work, I know now that I was neglected, severely, severely neglected. I remember, I'd say my first memory of being different than other people was kindergarten. I remember being in kindergarten and there was cubby things where everybody's stuff was, and it was nap time, and all these little girls were over here and they were all cute and clean. And I was over here by the cubby holes and I wasn't. We were super, super poor. And I always try to say, like, my mom worked. Do you know what I mean? She worked in the
Mhm.
cotton mill. I have no idea what they did with their money or anything. I don't know, because she wasn't a drinker, you know what I mean? They weren't a gambler. I just think that she didn't know how to take care of money. We always lived in a trailer park or with, like, a family member, and I was a child that yes, they fed me. Yes, she kept me safe. I did not experience any, like, physical or sexual abuse when I was little. I was just like an afterthought, like, a lost child, so to speak, and always felt very inside out, like I was uncomfortable off the rip. And because my sisters were so much older, they had children my age, but I was the oldest one out of that, and so it was a weird dynamic, and I don't know why, and I've asked my sisters this, l l in life, like, why was I always with them? Because I was always with them. I don't have a lot of memories when I was little being with my mama, except
Mm.
when, like, um, like, I have a couple of memories of being with her, so always just different and, like, being extremely poor and not having the things that the other kids had, and my mom was that kind of person that didn't ask for help, so we didn't have, like, any type of welfare, we didn't have any kind of anything like that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, very, very, proud, but I was a really good kid, like, super, super good. I just wanted to be good. My whole life, I just wanted to be good, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
eternally wanna be good. A lot of people say that's, like, my Virgo moon, but I digress. Don't get me started on birth charts.
Now, were your sisters there? Were your sisters there in
No,
North
so
Carolina
my sisters
too?
were all out of the house except for my sister closest to me, but when I was in kindergarten, she left. She
Okay.
left the house when I was in kindergarten and, ran away with a guy in a van. I had a stepdad. There was I loved his family. His family were somewhat normal, and, they showed me a lot of love. I had a wonderful aunt that's still alive and a couple cousins, from there that they kinda showed me what normal was because my mom's family was not normal.
Mm.
It was not. Like, I look back and, like, things have you just when you're in therapy, things come up, and I just didn't know they were abnormal, you know what I mean? I just didn't know they were abnormal, like, the way that my mom was not a house cleaner. I don't mean to trash her because I love her. She loved God very much, and she was so
Mm.
kind. Some of the best parts of me are her, like my kindness and, my empathy and my love for God all come from her.
Mhm.
She just was not a clean person, and that bothered me. At a young age, I always felt ashamed from a
Mhm.
very, very young age. I remember I was in 5th grade. I got hit by a car when I was in 3rd grade. Like, I walked across Wilkinson Boulevard. Like, I don't know why I know why I was going over there. I don't know why nobody stopped me from going, but I think I lied to my mom and told her I was going somewhere else. I got hit by a car when I was 3, and, that really changed a lot of stuff for me because they really had to give me a lot of attention because I was in traction.
Mhm.
But when I was in 5th grade, I got a horrible whooping, because I tore my mom's bedroom apart looking for adoption papers. I was like, "There is no way that this is my family. There's no way that I belong here. No way." That's how different I always felt. Like, there has got to be some reason that I'm with these people. They are not my people. Why at 10 years old did I think do you know what I'm saying? Like, what was happening at 10 years old that I was like, "This is not my people." And of course, she whipped me. Not because I was looking for adoption papers, but because I destroyed her room. And then around
That's pretty
11
impactful. That's pretty impactful for a 5th grader to be
I
doing
know.
something like
I know. I know. But I've always, kind of gosh, I'm gonna tell myself, but I've always thought I was special. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always thought there's something really special about me. And I was like, there's no way that these people are my people because I just always I don't know. I just always thought there's got to be more than this. This cannot be right. This, you know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
little, just thinking this cannot be accurate how people are supposed to live. Even though everybody around me they were living that way. And then when I was 11, had my first experience with like mental health. So at 11, I tried to take a bunch of over the counter medicine and kill myself at 11. So something's happening. Like at that time, I don't have the awareness of what's happening. And again, like I don't have any abuse or anything. Like I'm getting picked on at school pretty bad, like and I just felt less than and like I was a mistake and that this life was a mistake, that my family was a mistake, and that got my mom's attention. My mom took me to the doctor, and they diagnosed me at 11 years old with bipolar 2. I don't take medication for that now, but I have a whole other thought on diagnoses. Don't get me started on that either. Because at some point in my life, I've probably had them all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because I didn't have effective coping skills, and I was disconnected from myself. I was always disconnected from myself. You know what I mean? Like, I thought something was inherently wrong with me. Otherwise, why would I have this life that I have? Why would I be with these people? Because like I said, I grew up super, super poor. And when I'm talking about poor, I'm talking about like just filth, like always just insecure and trying to make sure like there are not bugs in my book bag, lice. And I remember one time my mom used gasoline to get lice out of my head. I don't even get that lice out. I think it gave me blisters, but not lice. But it's that kind of
Yeah.
poverty, and that has an effect on like your self concepts, how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I was like in eighth grade. I had this friend who was from like the rich side of the tracks, and her dad found out where I lived and made her stop hanging out with me, even though I wasn't a bad kid. I was not a bad kid. I was super kind. I was like an average student. I dug into church. Like God was always like a staple for me. Like that was like my one retreat. That and books. I read a lot of books. That was like my one retreat. I'd get lost in books. And
Mm.
my mom was an avid reader. Like my mom was super smart. That's again, it's a lot of complexities there, but she was really a smart woman. She like a eighth grade education, but
Mhm.
she was really into reading. So that was something that uh, I got into early on. And then when I was about 16, kind of grown up, I was able to take care of myself more because I started working when I was 13,
Mhm.
babysit for this old lady at a nursing home. Her daughter thought that she wasn't getting the care she needed. So she hired me on Saturdays and Sundays to sit with her mom for 4 hours. Her name was Alice, and she was mean, but she always had a good she shared with me. And so I started being able to make money to, like, buy myself things that, like, I couldn't, because my mom didn't have the money, and, then I got a job at, like, Winn-Dixie. I remember I could work 8 hours a week. It was $56 as a bagger. And, I always worked.
Mhm.
But when I was 6, I kinda got out of, like, this awkward stage. I still was very awkward, still very insecure, very, very quiet, but I had, caught the eye of this guy, and he was, like, a popular dude, He was all the things that I never thought would ever be interested in me, and, he was, like, my first love, my best friend, and, we got together, and then that kinda changed. I kinda opened up a little more, but that was the beginning of my codependency, I believe, like, letting someone tell me my worth.
Mm.
I got pregnant, and the whole time I went to church, like, I grew up Pentecostal. I got pregnant when I was 16, and on my 17th the day after my 17th birthday, I had the baby, and he was stillborn, and
Oh,
yeah, that rocked me because at that point, I'm thinking, "God hates me." You know what I mean? I never thought God wasn't there. I just thought, "God hates me." Anger filled me, and again, my family has a lot of learned helplessness. Thank God for my one cousin who is sane. She is sane. She's got a little normal to her, whatever normal is. But I would say functioning. She's able to function. She's like a
yeah.
paralegal. She got some stuff about her. And she really helped me during that time. But everybody else was really consumed with them. I remember I was telling my therapist last time we met about this. At that funeral, like, my neighbor was like, "I've never rode in a limousine. Can I ride in the family car?" I didn't ride in the family car. I was just like, "What?" You know what I mean? It's like the craziest thing. Like, my child's just died, and you wanna ride in a limo, and do you think this is the time to ask me? Okay, girl, get in there. I mean, like, I don't care? But that kinda lets you know what kinda supports. I was just navigating that alone, and, thank God for my cousin and my best friend at the time. I rode with her because I didn't know what to do, and, that guy that I'd been in relationship with, we dated on and off for, like, 11 years after that, but that really was a deep, profound pain that we shared, and, we never could get past it. Do you know what I mean? It
Sure.
connected us at a soulful level, and, ironically enough, I saw he actually, died of a drug overdose in 2012, but I saw his son today 'cause he has a son later on, that looked just like him, and I was like, "Oh, what a God wink."
Yeah.
I know. So, I don't I at that point, quit school. I just go to work. I'm not really, I'd stopped medication because, I stopped medication a long time ago after they put me on like whatever they had put me on when I was a child. But I had stopped. And about 2 years after that experience losing Logan, I was filled with rage. I had turned into a very, very angry person. Ricky had gone, that was his name. He had gone to Texas and I just worked and worked. I still lived with my mom and my stepdad, but I just worked and worked and worked and worked. And
Were
I
you
went through
working just to try to escape, do you
I
think?
just didn't know what else to do. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I didn't
yeah.
know. I'm just holding all that in. There was never a time that I was able to sit down and like really um
Process.
process, because
Yeah,
what was that? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, the messages that I received around grief is like, you cry, you have a family get together, and then you just move on, you
yeah.
know? I don't know if you've ever heard of, like, young schemas, like maladaptive schemas.
No.
I told you I'm a therapy geek. Well, schemas are like the picture frames that you see the world through, right? And
Yeah.
they're developed when we're a child. They're based off like unmet childhood needs. And I have quite a few of them of the 18 maladaptive, but one of them is trust, mistrust. And it means that like as a child, there was no one there to hold any space for you emotionally. So you learn to kind of not share your emotions, like emotional inhibition.
Mm,
And that's how it was. Like, it was very obvious to me as a little girl that nobody has time for your tears. No one has time for your anger. Like, only way you're going to get any attention is to be like a happy little girl. And there, you're probably not going to, you know what I mean? Like, don't come to me, your problem. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
it's not like looking at it now, like they couldn't give me the space because they didn't have space for their own, you know?
yeah,
So I went through life just kind of not talking about how I felt ever, you know?
yeah.
But like I said, my relationship with my mom is complicated. I love her so, so much. She's passed on now. But like she never taught me anything. She didn't teach me about like periods. She didn't teach me about like sex. She didn't teach me about makeup. None of that stuff. Anything that I learned came from my friends. And that's kind of horrible because they didn't know what they were doing either. But so I about 2 years in, I go to the doctor. I go to the doctor and at this point, it's early 2000s, maybe 1999, and he gives me a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I have ADHD. It's unmedicated now. So just no squirrel, I'm off to the races. So I go, he puts me on a bunch of stuff because, again, they reiterate the bipolar 2 disorder. He gives me some other like severe anxiety with panic attacks because I did have severe panic attacks after Logan left, like
Mhm.
crippling. Like my chest was caving in, blowing into a paper bag. And he prescribes me Xanaxes. And I didn't take them immediately, but then I did. And when I did, the world was right. All of that stuff that I had carried with me my whole life did not matter. I changed, my whole personality changed. I was the life of the party. I was optimistic. I was outgoing, all the things, all the things. That started my 19 years of ripping and running, And at first it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? I was able to maintain. I get pregnant with my oldest daughter, Gabby. I get pregnant with her. I have her. We have an apartment. I have a car, just a regular 21-year-old girl with a kid, just I'm excelling at my job. I was like a corporate trainer for this chain of restaurants. Life was good. Even though I was abusing those, I don't think that I had built a physical dependency on it. I tried ecstasy. Was never really my thing. Did drink. When I drank, I did drink a lot, but like I could still put stuff down. And if I didn't have it, it wasn't a big deal. And then this is when Oxycontins came out. And I had like a toothache or something. I was at work and one of my coworkers was like, Joe, take this, the coatings already off. And I don't know why. I was like, we're busting this down. Why are we busting this down and snorting it? But I did it. And like that was the moment that everything changed because from that moment of that first interaction with Oxycontin, within 6 months, my whole saving account was gone. I could not go a day without it because then I would physically, feel sick. And I ended up. This is right at the point where me and the guy Ricky. Ricky was not Gabby's dad. Gabby's dad was someone else. Because, like I said, me and Ricky was on and off for like 11 years.
Right.
But this was
Yeah.
like the final time that we were off for good. And he met the wife that he had and they had their child. And I got with my youngest daughter, Gracie's dad. And he was actually he was a dealer. I'd known him from childhood, but that's how we got together was through drugs, and, I got pregnant with her, and that relationship, while he's a good man, he's been a great father to her, I was incapable of letting someone be good to me. It was just, if you're good to me, like, I need to get you away from me, and, like, it's not conscious. It's not what I'm consciously thinking, I now know that my relationship with self was really worked. I hated me. I'd shoved down every feeling I'd ever had. And if I had it, I'm going to quickly turn to a pill or a substance to change the way I feel. And so I got pregnant with her. I gained a bunch of weight. And then after I had her, mine and his relationship was toxic. I mean, it really, really was. I do believe that he really, really loved me, and I think that if I was capable of loving a person, I coulda loved him, but I was incapable of that. Do you know what I mean? I
Yes.
was incapable of receiving love, you
Yeah.
know?
Just because
Yeah.
of all the childhood.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I had
like,
no healthy relationships to look at
yeah,
whatsoever, and my self-worth, my self-concept was shame. Do you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, that's was the underlying current of everything. I thought I have fooled everybody, like, really, like, I am a defect. And, so we split up. I worked at a bar, I started bartending, and that's a whole thing in itself where you just have to be somebody like an alter ego, and I
yeah.
never knew who I was. Do you know what I mean? Like, my whole life,
Yep,
I never knew who I was.
yep.
And, so that led to, like, a lot of manipulation, and, I have great interpersonal skills because of this, but at the time, it's manipulation. It's, definitely using charm to get what I want out of people.
Mhm.
I'm like 24, the world is my oyster, but, again, if you're good to me, you gotta go away. And, but my addiction is just, it's progressing, it's progressing, it's progressing. Me and him are fighting about her all the time, Gracie all the time. Bless her heart. Gabby, she's always been an adult. She's definitely a parentified child. She was a good kid. She had a good temperament. So, but looking back on it now, like, how, like, there's things that I definitely think have value in my life now, but with my girls, that's the one thing, man, I have not learned to even the benefit that it has, it still doesn't, for me, outweigh the regret I have.
Yeah,
Yeah. It progresses, about I think Gracie's about, like, age 6, and at this point, I'm becoming unemployable, right? Like, I can get a job, but I can't hold on to it,
yeah.
and for a bartender, that's rough because you can get away with murder. So, like, they'd hire me on, like, a Friday, and then by Sunday, they're like, "Yeah, you don't need to come back." Um, yeah, like, 'cause I would get wasted, and then about, like, 1 o'clock before the bar closes, I'm like, I'm done. I'm gonna go out here and party with the patrons." And, bless her heart, like, I would come back every couple of weeks and be like, "Yeah, I'm different." And they'd hire me, and then it just was awful. And so this started an era of, like, using people because I could still put on a front like I had my stuff together. You're soon gonna find out I don't, but for the purposes of getting what I need from you, it's gonna look like I have my stuff together. And, so I just, started finessing people, like, making them think I liked them, but I didn't, but I just needed, like, a place to live, and I need them to take care of me and my daughter or something,
Yeah,
I'm incapable of having a relationship with someone, I mean, at this point, I'm incapable of receiving love from my children.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, in my
yeah.
mind, I think they would be better with anybody but me. Uh, and so Gracie's living with her dad. I see her on the weekends, but he very much has the power. Gabby's still with me. Her dad's in and out of prison. And then about, I think Gabby's 12 or 13. And she says, I want to go live with my best friend. And in my crazy mind, I think that's a good idea. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that it is the most unselfish thing I could do to let my child go live with her best friend and her mom because they appear to have their stuff together. And of course, Gabby's gonna know what's best for her. She didn't, and I didn't, like, it's just insane. And
Mhm.
that was, like, the nail that did me in. I carry on. I carry on, but I hate myself. Like, every single moment that I wake up, I hate myself. And it just spirals from one thing to another. And then that last year before I got sober was the worst entire year of my life ever. Definitely what they would call the dark night of the soul.
Mhm.
I get with this guy who is emotionally and sexually abusive, you know what I mean? Physically,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say he would definitely play me and scare me, but, like, he didn't physically, put his hands on me. Like, I was so disturbed in my own mind that, like, I would chase him around because it was something more than nothing, you know?
Mhm.
I'm not even talking to my kids, not even talking to them, you know? Gracie's living with her dad, and, he you know, he has his own struggles, but that's his story to tell. But at this time, he was doing well, you know, he was doing the deal, and so he was like, you know, and she didn't need to be around me, you know, like, that's the truth I know today.
And then your oldest daughter was staying with the
Our friends, yes, yes, yes. I forever and a day am so grateful to her best friend and her best friend's mom because they took care of her, you know, they did. So, that last year, my oldest daughter, Gabby, calls me and she's like she's a junior in high school, and she calls me, she gets in touch with me and says that her hair is falling out, and it turns out that she had alopecia, but at this time, we don't know that. So, I somehow hold my stuff together long enough to take her to the dermatologist. Not the her primary care. Her primary care sends her to a dermatologist. They think it's first they think maybe it's like a fungal thing, then they think, no, it's definitely alopecia. Now, my mind, I'm able to recognize that like it's something to do with me because they're telling me it's an autoimmune disorder brought on by stress, but I run a million miles in the other direction. I can't even show up for her. Do you understand what I'm saying? I can't even show up for her. And then my DOC and addiction was everything, but at this point, it escalated to IV, drug use, preferably methamphetamines, and I would go in psychosis. I would be in and out of the 7th floor in Gastonia, which is the psych ward, you
Right.
know? I just so happened and, like, I'm a little bit out of the woods now. I'm almost 9 years out of the woods, and I still believe this with my whole heart that God will use whatever he's gotta use to get you. You know what I mean? He don't care
Mhm.
if you're out in that gutter, he will go get you. And, I had, like, spiritual psychosis. I was never, like, a person that saw, like, shadow people or peeked my face. I always read my Bible and, like, really, like, was, like, thought God was talking to me and stuff. So, I got on this bender, thought I was gonna go see a man about spiritual gifts. I didn't know where he lived, but I started walking and, because I didn't have a car. I didn't even have a place to live. I'm living out in the streets most of the time, pillar to post. Just because I can't hold it together. Everybody knows I'm a mess at this point, They're like, "She's never gonna get her shit together. She's gonna die that way." And, my family can't support me. They can't help me. They have no ability to help themselves, let alone help me, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I wind up at where Gabby's living, and she's done. And it's the first time I actually see her because like 6 months had passed since that initial thing. And there's like gobs of her. She's got these bald spots. She's done enrolled in school, and I see her for the first time. And like in a moment, like a snap, every delusional lie I had went away. I could see myself clearly. And I knew in that moment that I didn't know what was going to change. I didn't know anything like that, but I could see clearly. And she was like, I'm done. And she was like the last person that ever believed that this woman that I am today could be possible. And to see her like that, I just could cry. And of course, I said, I'm sorry. I'm going to get sober. No, I'm not doing anything, blah, 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 blah. And I had never really said I was going to get sober before. Like
Mhm.
I never had said that. That wasn't something that was on my mind. But I was in that moment, I did. I'm going to get help. I don't know how I'm going to get help, but I'm going to get help. And she's like, "Well, I'm done." Well, I walk out, and it's late that night when I walk out of, where she's at, and I don't have a car. I have, like, a little throwaway beaner burner phone, and, I still actually have stuff, like substances in my bag, and it's literally, like, at a road, and I could go one way and call somebody and do what I always did and get what I always got, or there was a church, it's called Grace Memorial Baptist, and I'm forever grateful for that church because that church is where, I met God. It's where I met God, and there was no preacher there. It's at night, you know what I mean? I'm at a concrete bench, I'm just looking for some coverage. I throw out the syringe and the substances I have, and I throw them underneath there, and I surrender, like, I can't even like a weeping of one's soul,
Mhm.
like, I could not have went to sleep that night. I probably did massive amount of dope before I got there, but I cried out, and I don't know exactly what I said. I don't even know if I spoke anything, but I remember the train of thought was like, "Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. I cannot do this anymore. Whatever, just please, please help me." And just crying, like, when you're crying, like, you're just sobbing.
Yeah.
And then I get up on that bench and I fall asleep. And then I wake up about 5:30 the next morning, and I walk back over to her name's Susan, that was my daughter's best friend's mom. I walk over there and I knock on her door because I didn't know what else to do at this point. I
Mhm.
didn't know how to get help, where to go to get help. I just knew I was willing to do what anybody told me to do, and I go in there and I said, "I need help." And she didn't know how to help me, you know? She said, "I don't know how to help you." But my little girl's dad, Gracie's dad that had Gracie, he had been in and out of recovery. And so and at that point he was in, like, cause he struggled, and so I called him and I was like, "Hey, Matt." She told me to call him. So I called him and I was like, "Hey, Matt, I don't want to sleep with you, but can I come stay with you while I get my stuff together?" And he said, "No." He said, "But I will come and take you to detox." And he happened to be dating he had 6 honest months at that time. And he'd happened to be dating this lady who she had like, at this point, like 16 years, like she's got a bunch more now, but he did the right thing. He called her and she came with him to get me and they took me to detox. And she was the first woman I'd ever saw in recovery, and she was so kind, and she was so loving, and it didn't matter that I was his baby mama or his ex-lover. It mattered that I was another, um, addict seeking recovery. Do you know what
Mhm.
I mean? She did all the things. I didn't have any supports. I had no natural supports. I had no supports. I didn't have anything, And so she was my emergency contact on there. And like I remember being in the back of his car. You could tell like he was doing it because he had to do it, but he didn't believe I could do it. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
remember her saying, "Don't pay no attention to him. Don't pay any attention to him. You can do this." And she's told me this thing and it sticks with me. She said, "It begins and ends with you. It's an inside job." Now, I didn't know anything that it meant there, but I knew that this was what I was supposed to be doing, like an inner knowing inside of me. And I
Mhm.
walked in there and I was starving, and there's like, "Do you want some food?" I was like, "Yeah." And back then at Phoenix, they had Golden Corral. You can tell me nothing. I was on top of the world. And the 2 intake nurses, one's name is JoJo and the other's name is Kelly, and I remember I just starts crying, and I was like, "I'm gonna remember you guys forever," and I do, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it's like I always knew it was an opportunity for me to change my life. Um, so I got there and, very unsure of what was expected. I didn't know that they were gonna, like, tell me not to take my prescription medicine. I didn't know, you know?
Mhm.
Mm. So I stayed there 9 days, and I didn't have anywhere to live, and I had no supports, and they said, "You're 37% more likely to achieve long-term sobriety if you go to long-term treatment." Perfect. I don't have anywhere to go, and, I was planning on going to Dove's Nest here in Charlotte, but they had a bed open at this place called, it's a Phoenix Women's Halfway House. It's like 8 women. It's called Galen's House of Hope. Uh the lady that was over it came and interviewed me, and I don't know how she got anything out of me because I was just crying. You know what I mean? Like, and she said, "Fine, I'll come and get you. You have to stay 2 days extra, but I'll come and get you." And I left there and went there April 4th, 2017, and I stayed there for 6.5 months. And there, they introduced me to recovery supports. I'm engaged in all the day treatment programs, right? Like we process shame and guilt and all of this stuff. And I was like, "Oh, wait, this in my mind, I was like, this makes sense." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like this is life skills. This makes absolute sense to me. And I wanted to change. Do you know what I mean? I did not want to remain as I was. And so I did all the things they told me to do. And I got out and I went and lived with my best friend Lita, she was like one person I didn't screw over in my addiction. I don't know why that had to be like the hand of God just watching out for me. And she let me live in her basement apartment when I first got out. And I paid her a little bit of rent, but it was a safe place. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? That I could say and I could be loved. And my daughter Gabby immediately, she was on board. She was always on board. Yes, mom. Now my daughter Gracie, we always struggled. Always struggled. She was there, but it was very much I had to earn all of it. Rightfully so. You know what I mean? Rightfully so.
Mhm.
Really so. I had did the thing they tell you not to do. I got with a guy very early on in sobriety. He had more time than I did. He had like 3 years. And so when I got out, I think when I had a year sober, he asked me to marry him. And I thought, this is God's will for my life. I had got my GED in that year and I was starting college. Like it was everything that I ever wanted it to be. I had this whole host of people in recovery loving on me and pouring into me, and I'd never had that in my
Mhm.
life, like, I had never had someone, "Oh, this would be good, do this," and I had these women teaching me how to talk and how to behave, and it was amazing. everything in the world was right, and, so I went to school, and I gained a lot of weight, like a lot of weight. I now know it's another manifestation of the addiction, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I still had unresolved stuff that I wasn't addressing, and there's a reason why they tell you not to get in a relationship early recovery. You know, it just so happened that it worked out that I stayed sober through mine. That's it, you know? Because I wasn't able to sit alone with myself. I still had someone else telling me what I was and I wasn't, you know? I'm a firm believer in what you're attracted to while you're sick is not the same thing that you're gonna be attracted to as you heal and grow. And this is
Right.
no shade to him, you know, God love him. I think he tried his very, very best. It just wasn't what I need.
Yeah.
And
As you're healing, I'm sure it probably
yeah,
as you're, it's, you just change, you just grow. So
yes,
it's
yes.
probably just not what you needed.
No, I mean, he was very attractive, you know, he's very popular, all of those things, but, like, at the value part of us, right? It
Yeah,
wasn't the
right.
same. At the spiritual part of us, it wasn't the same, and I didn't know that that was gonna be really important to me, but it is really important to me.
Right.
But I didn't
Right.
know myself, and it was better than anything I ever had, so, of course, it's gotta be okay. So, we get married during COVID, my children are in the wedding, my daughter Gabby comes and lives with me, you know, everything's going good, and the whole time that I've been sober, I've been in therapy. That's why that's the hill I die on. Therapy works. It has worked for me. Do you know what I mean? It has been the way to shift how I feel about myself, how I think, how I engage, like having all those skills that I've learned in therapy are really how this woman got here. You know what I mean? And I'm so grateful for the past versions of myself that did the work to get me here because I was one screwed up little girl. You know what I mean? I really, really was. And so I graduated with my associates in human services. I became a substance abuse counselor. I went back and worked at the treatment center that I got sober at. And during this, my mom dies. And that
Oh.
was the reservation I had when I first got sober, right? Like if something happens to my mom, I'm going to die and I'm going to relapse. But during those 4 years, I was able to like get my mom out of the living situation. She'd been in pretty much her whole life and put her in a home and really take care of her. You know what I mean? And forgive her, you know, without her saying she's sorry. You
Mhm.
know, I had did the work to recognize that my mom's just a girl too. Do you know what I mean? She's
Mhm.
just her first time around. She was doing the very best that she knew to do for me. And yet it wasn't enough, you know? And that's okay, right? That's okay. She didn't get like a little book that said, "Here's this really weird, sensitive little girl, and this is how you take care of her." She didn't know any of that, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but her death really it really rocked me. And at the same time, I am disengaging from a relationship, from a mentor and a sobriety. We kind of reached a crossword where we couldn't agree. And so a lot of things are shifting and I emotionally bottom out, right? I'm
Mhm.
literally at the end of my bed, just God, please help me, please help me, please help me. And he did. He did. The other women in my life came in spades, you know, like they just sat with me. They just sat with me.
Mhm.
They didn't change the way I felt or anything. And at this point, you know, I'm working in treatment, so I've got a lot of support with colleagues and supervisors that are really helping me kind of navigate that. And both of my daughters, this is probably one of the healthiest parts of our relationships during this time. My youngest daughter, Grace, Gabby's moving out. She's moving with someone else. And my youngest daughter, Gracie, is moving in. And that was a really cool time because she was always away from me because her dad came and got her at a young age. My marriage at this point is definitely like we're in it. You know what I mean? And I think he might have stayed in it just because he was comfortable and he's very loyal. But at this point, I'm noticing like this is not what I want, you know?
Mhm.
So I work at that treatment center I was at for a little bit and I was burnt out because treatment's hard work.
Yes,
Especially
it
when you're in recovery and you're working in treatment, you know, and you're short staffed at a state-ran place, that's a lot. And I'm also at this point at Gardner Webb getting my bachelor's, you know, I've been busy. I've been a busy girl my whole sobriety. My whole sobriety, I've been chasing some goal. And, uh, I st I what happens next? Oh, I'm moving right along, and I get this job where I'm at now. And I guess about 6 months before I got the job where I'm at now, I'm gonna talk about this. I lost all sex drive. I wanted no sex whatsoever. Now, at this point, I'm like 40 something years old. You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't be there. And so I go to my primary care doctor and they take my levels. And then they send me to like a women's health doctor for like, to a sexologist, women's health, and then a hormone specialist. My testosterone level was low, but the lady kept saying, I think this is psychological. I think this is psychological why you don't have it. And so my doctor puts me on like topical testosterone, and it does help. It did help. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But turns out I didn't like my husband. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't, God, I hope he doesn't hear this. I'm like, please God, don't let him hear this. Cause God bless him. I did. Do you know what I mean? I did. One time he was a bad mother and I wanted everything to do with him. But at that time I did not. I did not. My body did not want anything to do with him. And, um, so that was like the beginning of the end, like when the sexologist tells you, like, I think maybe it's your body reacting to your, and I was like, "Mm, that can't be right." And so then I go on, what did I go on? Semaglutide, right? I start losing weight. I go on the semaglutide journey. And I'm at work. I love my job so much. I love the place that I work, Carolina Center for Recovery. And if you're in Charlotte area and you need help with addiction, come see us. We have a new facility, and it's a very heartfelt place to work. They have been a family to me. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
literally a family to me, personally and professionally. And so I'm losing weight. I'm starting to take care of myself. Just, I'm just growing and like
Mhm.
really blossoming. And it really caused a huge, even more of a strain on top of that strain in my marriage. And so I'm splitting up. Like I left the house. Me and Gracie left the house for like a month, went live somewhere else. It's just not good. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not stable. And so after that month, I went back because again, I have these really strong convictions about like being married and a divorce. And, he's promising that he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And we had went to marriage counseling. Somehow the marriage, and again, I digress, but the marriage counselor had somehow we had somehow convinced the marriage counselor that I was the only one that needed therapy. He didn't have to do it anymore, marriage counseling. I don't know how that happened. I'm going to be honest, but I did the therapy and it was fine. But that's how it came
Because you
out.
love therapy. Because you love
Yes,
therapy.
yes, but I always find it fascinating, like, I think I was the problem. I do think I was the problem. I think there's nothing wrong with him. I think that it was always me. Do you know what I mean? I wanted him to be someone he could not be. I
Mhm.
changed the way he dressed, I tried to tell him how to be. I was trying to morph him into somebody that I wanted him to be when he just wanted to be who he was, and
Mhm.
that's do you know what I mean? I was actually in the wrong for trying to make him somebody he wasn't, you know?
Mhm.
And so I ended up leaving. And again, God always just be coming through. You know what I mean? I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have the money to like leave and get a place. So I went and I stayed with my sponsor, got my old sponsor. Well, one of my friends. I went and stayed with her. And it was me and Gracie, and my work. Again, I can't tell you enough how great these people are. My boss could see that I was going through something and they kind of knew what was happening. They all got together and was like, "Hey, we want to give you a bonus so that you have enough money to do what you need to do to breathe. We want you to be able to be who you are at work all the time." And they gave me $5,000. They gave that to
Wow.
me as a bonus. And then I had a colleague that was moving to Raleigh. But before she went to Raleigh, her and her fiance were going out of the country, and she had a month left on her lease at her house. And so she said, "Just come and stay there till you find a place." So we did. You can't tell me that's not God. I mean, you
Yeah.
cannot tell me that's not. Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, come on. Turns out
Right.
that lady rented the house to us. It was a beautiful house. And it was me and my two daughters. My daughter Gabby moved in there, and my best friend at the time, Casey, and her daughter. So we lived in this big house. It was like a 5-bedroom house. It was,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. But that year was rough. That year was emotionally rough. I wanted to disengage from like recovery supports. I thought, because I'd graduated with my bachelor's in human service, I thought I've got this education, like I don't need to do the things that I've always done to stay sober. I tried to date a normie and I thought that I knew what a normie was because I'm a substance abuse counselor. Turns out I still Don't. I can't recognize it. I can't see past the nose on my face. Can't, but my sex drive came back. So that was good. I was like, I'm not broke. I am not broke. And, uh, let's see, but the stuff with my daughters really bubbled to the surface because it was the first time since they were little girls that we had all lived in the house together. So it was a mess. It was,
Mm.
you know, all the stuff that hadn't been addressed was bubbling up to the surface. The fact that I had not been alone my whole sobriety, So all of those feelings came back. And I don't know about you, but there's a big difference between skinny Joe and bigger Joe. You
Yeah.
know what and what I
Yes.
mean is how people look at you, how people treat you, because all the same insecurities were there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like that changed. And so I had to be really careful because I didn't want to ruin my reputation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there's a lot of dynamics that are happening there. And then I find out during that time that my daughter Gabby's boyfriend is using, we try to send him to, so I'm super worried about her. There's a lot of strained relationship there, but it all bubbles to the surface. And me and my best friend that was living with me, we get into it. It was just a lot, like I'd never like relapsed during that time, but like emotionally, that there's a Travis Meadows song and it's talking about when you shove it down, it comes out sideways.
Mhm.
That's really what my life was imploding. It,
Well,
it really was.
I think you make a good point because a lot of people don't understand sometimes that, and I try to tell people this that, even when you get sober, it's not, life still gets lifey.
Yes, yes. And it very much was.
So, you don't necessarily get a break because you get sober.
No, no, not
Still,
at all.
but it's still about walking the walk, just, and it's not necessarily about walking the walk without drinking. It's about or using, it's walking the walk, with grace, really, and
Mm,
doing it to the best of your ability with trust and all of those things. And sometimes, we don't do it all that well. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for you, but I can only speak for myself. I don't do it that great 100% of the time, but I do my best. So, I mean, it's a
Same.
good point.
Exact same. Exact same. And that was really where I learned that I had, again, there was things, deep seated stuff that needed to be addressed, right? Because that
Mhm.
shame that I thought I had let go of, really, I had this protector, right? That had her shit together, that was making sure that people were pleased. I had a good job. I looked a certain way. I had a certain reputation in the community, but it was just protecting that shame part of me.
Right.
And for me, like I had to completely bottom out. And that bottom looked like my youngest daughter going to live with her dad. And Gabby and her boy decided to go live with her boyfriend. My friend Casey and her daughter moved out, and I got a little apartment here next to the university because I was about to start my master's program. And I spent a summer alone. I did. It was awful, and it was everything that I needed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I needed to, like, go inside and find my core self and remind myself what I am. Because the same me that got me sober, the same me that survived all that trauma and turmoil in that childhood, she is the person that I can trust. Yes, can I trust my higher power? My God, yes, I can. But, like, on a real, like, practical, my relationship with myself is so, so important. I learned that I abandoned myself for people. And so I had to stop doing that. I had to stop compromising my needs for others. And I'm not perfect at it. Please, this is just something I work toward. But I lost a lot of stuff during that time. I lost my relationship with my youngest daughter. She chose not to want to have anything to do with me. She's angry and that was horrible, and I still hate it, you know what I mean? Like, she has me blocked on everything. Still I wouldn't say every single day. I did for a while every single day text her, but I mean, it's blocked. She doesn't get it, but it's for me to.
Mhm.
I write letters to remind myself that, like, if she comes back, I bought her Christmas gifts and birthday gifts, and I just have them.
Mhm.
My oldest daughter Gabby, she's writing her own story. And that relationships, I wouldn't say strained because there's very much love there and we communicate. But she's 24, and I'm not her priority. So now life looks like me loving my job. I do. I love helping people. I get a lot of gratification from that. School, I've got like a year and a half left of my master's program. I'm probably in the healthiest relationship I've ever been in my life, and I am so loved in all the things that I ever wanted. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but I've also did a lot of work on myself to where, like, if I get, because I'm an anxious attachment style. So when I get preoccupied, I go in and I self-soothe and I like pray to God, like, I'm so sorry that I've made him my higher power and not you, and I like try to um like, break those schemas that I have, because those schemas tell
Mhm.
me to close up and pull away. So when I feel that, I'm like, "No, no, no, I need to share this with you." And he's open to hearing that? Like, we pray together and we love together, and it's not a competition, and he doesn't mind. He's so kind too. He's very social and kind. That's a pairing for me. Like, I need someone that doesn't mind being talkative, because 'cause I'm gonna talk to every single person that I know always.
Mhm.
And so it's very complimentary. I have no idea what God has in store for me. You know what I mean? But I do
Mhm.
truly, truly, truly believe that part of this process is me healing inside and loving other people is the best I can. You know what I mean? Because that's really where it's at,
Mhm.
like healing myself so I can give the best type of love to those that I care for and those that I love. You know what I mean? And am I perfect at it? No. Sometimes I get crazy as a bed bug in my head, girl. But I just continue to do the work because I don't
Yeah.
ever go back to the girl I was almost 9 years ago. I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So if I have to sit there in that uncomfortable emotion, I just sit there in that uncomfortable emotion or reach out to support or do the things that I've been taught to do in recovery that help me stay sane,
Yeah. Yeah.
sane-ish, so to speak. It's yeah, you know? Um, and I just try to find the glimmers. I really, really do. Try to keep my relationship with God right, try to stay right-sized and remember it has nothing to do with me. Like this world, I'm not the center of the universe. I'm supposed to be here to give back but I am also a part of that. You know what I mean? Like I'm supposed to take care of me too.
Yep.
Because getting away from the drugs and alcohol was just the start. It's so
Right.
much deeper for that for me now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I seek God because I wanna seek God, not
Yeah.
because I wanna stay sober. Like, I wanna be close to God. I try to be a good person because I like who I am as a good person, you
Right.
know? And I know I told you earlier, like, I am a therapy geek, and, there's this one specific theory, it's ACT, it's acceptance and commitment theory, and it talks about living in alignment with your values, and that for me has been the best gift that I've had in therapy is learning what my values are, aligning myself with that, because a byproduct of that is you become congruent with yourself. And
Mhm.
when you congruent with yourself, this beautiful thing happens that it changes your self-concept, builds your self-esteem, and helps you self-actualize? And
Mhm.
so, like, and that's just something to work toward, but, like, it helps me make decisions when I have hard decisions to make?
Mhm.
And so, like, I'm nobody special. I if it's something hits me and I'm like, "Oh, that's a good idea. That makes sense." I listen to that, and then I try to apply it to the best of my ability. Am I perfect at it? No, not at all.
Yeah.
But so far so good, like, even my daughter doesn't wanna talk to me, but I haven't found it necessary to go and use over it. Have I cried and talked about in therapy 374 times? Yes. But
Mm.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
And life is still good. My life is
Yeah.
still good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And she's got her own path and, I mean, things change, so she'll figure it out at some
Yeah.
point, you
Yeah,
know?
I hope she does. I hope she does.
So, you just gotta and you can't, when you let it go, then, it gives her much more freedom to come back, but when you're trying so hard, it doesn't work.
Well, for me, it's like, what are the options to do? Do I don't know where she
Right.
lives. Do I go down to her work and show my ass? That's not an
Right.
option,
Right.
or do I respect her boundaries and
Right.
just love her from afar, like, because I do love her. I would do anything to be with her, but like showing my ass at her work and saying, I mean, that's not going to do it. Like, I'm powerless over it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, if I knew what to do that was within those values that I have, then I would totally do that, but the only thing that lines up with those values is trusting God, respecting her boundaries, and doing what I can so that when she does come back, if she chooses to come back and can say, "Here, I thought about you every single day, and here's these gifts I bought you," and you know what I mean? Like, I don't for me, I have to trust that God is hard at work there, hard at work there.
Right. Right. Well, I am so glad that you are not that little girl anymore, that little dirty girl anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
Back
exactly.
back in North Carolina,
Mhm,
that little ashamed little girl back in North Carolina. That's so sad. I
mhm.
don't like that you felt that way as a little girl.
Mm. Well, don't worry, me and my little one we're good, we're right as rain, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I
good.
definitely believe in, like, inner child healing and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
do
me
all
too.
that.
That's
Mhm.
good. I'm glad you and her are
Yes, yes,
good.
yes.
Good today. Well, okay, so we end the podcast. I always end the podcast with um 10 questions and they're all the same questions that I ask each of my guests. And it's kind of a good way to end the show. So anyway, so here's the first question. What skill would you like to ultimately master and why?
I would like to learn how to do, uh, uh, let me see, because 'cause I've got, like, 2 top 2 ones. I would like to learn how to do more somatic practices better,
Ooh,
or
yeah.
EDMR. Is that right? Or
Ian,
yes, thank you. I said the other one, didn't I? I always do. Either one, let's get a light show going. Either one.
well, when you do, let me know and I'll be one of your patients.
Mhm. I love all of that, like, neuro counseling. I love all of
Yeah,
that. The
I
bottom
do.
theories. Yeah,
I do too. That's cool. I like somatic stuff too,
same.
especially for my trauma stuff.
Yes.
Okay, what has been the highlight of your life thus far and why?
It definitely would be my girls, even at the way it is now, still,
Yeah.
still my girls, for sure.
Okay. What risk have you not taken that you would still like to take, and why haven't you?
I think it's like a daily thing. It's to show up as authentic as I can. You know what I mean? And I still I have something to say, like if I thought about like my deepest wish, it would be like to do a TED talk. I don't know exactly what
Oh
I'd do it,
yeah.
but I want a little clicker like Brene Brown. And I think self-doubt, self-doubt, like maybe that I'm
Yeah.
not going to be received, that I won't be accepted. But I hope before I die that I take that risk and expose myself in that way.
Yeah, that's an awesome. I like that. Do you have any nicknames or pet names?
Well, when I was growing up, it was JoJo, and now in my life, it's Llewellyn because of my boyfriend Eric, who I adore. They call Llewellyn my alter ego. So when I'm really domesticated, or they're trying to, and my little circle of friends, they all call me Llewellyn when I'm being
Okay.
real sassy. Yeah,
What person, living, dead, or a character do you most relate to and why?
Matilda.
Matilda?
I want to be a Miss Honey, but I'm a Matilda. Mhm.
Do you know Leanne? Or I don't know if you've run into Leanne, but she was on my show too, and she was like, "I'm Dora the Explorer."
No, Matilda for sure, because she just didn't belong in her family, she just didn't. Mhm. So Matilda for sure.
That's funny. Who do you admire and why?
Oh my god, I admire a lot of people, admire my friend Haley, I admire her so much. She is not in recovery, but she is super smart. She's, like, in her early 30s. She used to be a traveling minister, and she just recently passed her nationals counselor exam, but she's just, like, a person that is good at the core for no reason. Do you know what I mean? Super smart, just endured a lot. I admire my boo thing, Eric. He's just so good. He's so kind, he's so disciplined, he has such a strong work ethic. I love how he loves on people. I admire my boss, Taylor. She's been through a lot, and, she just to watch her grow and how, like, God has, like, used her and molded her through her trials. My best friend, Allison, she's super smart and intelligent. There's so many people that I admire and look up to. I really have been given the gift of seeing good in people, sometimes to a fault, but, like, there's a lot of people I respect I guess my current mentor now. She's funny and real and genuine. and never makes me feel stupid for the way I think, and I love that about her.
Good. It's good to have several.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a trick question,
Okay.
but it's what has been your biggest mistake or regret and why? And I say that's a trick question because usually your mistakes end up being learning,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
experiences. So
It's
that's
really the same one I shared earlier, it's my girls, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff in my life that I've done that definitely wasn't the wisest decision I ever made, but that I've found useful for them, like, they've made some part of me that I love now, But the stuff with my girls, abandoning them in my addiction, I still haven't made sense of that, and that's still a part of me that, like, I have a hard time giving compassion to because I'm living in the consequences of it, and, I do all the things about being mindful in this moment and who I am today. But, when it's right before you're going to sleep on a long day, I will torture myself with memories of them when they were little and all the things that I could have done differently.
sure, sure.
Mhm.
What's your favorite curse word?
Mm, my favorite curse word. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't like cussing. I don't like it.
Really? You
I'm not a big
don't?
cusser. Mm. I used to cuss like a sailor, and I just don't I don't like to cuss now. I just
You
don't.
don't like to do it anymore?
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
All
mm-mm.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So this, I like this. This is kind of my personal question,
Mhm,
but I like to know like where people come from. This is kind of like because it's kind of to show people like even though we come from different backgrounds, like it really doesn't matter. Like in recovery, it really doesn't matter.
mhm.
But it's kind of cool to find out where people come from. But anyway, the question is, what is your ethnicity or your heritage? Do you know?
Sure. So, I am Mexican, Native American or indigenous, and English. The
Cool.
23andMe said so. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting combo.
Mhm.
That's
It
really cool.
is.
What do you know what tribe?
Yeah, Yaqui.
Oh, Yaqui. Oh,
Yeah, they're over there next to you. They're in Arizona.
okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And last question. What would you hope your higher power or God or the universe or the creator would say to you when you pass or you
Mm.
die or you transition?
You did such a good job, sweet girl. Yeah. I just wanted to tell me I did a good job.
And
That's a
well,
good question, Holly. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
well, I have a feeling that's exactly what's going to be said because
I
you
hope
really
so.
have. Yes, you have done such an amazing job. I mean, I've seen you do an amazing job, and I've
Thank you
I've
so much
watched
for
you.
having me.
I've watched you do an amazing job. Well, thank you so much
Of course.
for saying yes, and it's so good to see you.
Ditto,
And it's
ditto, same.
I am so proud of you for getting your master's.
Thank you, thank you.
That's
I
so
don't got it yet.
awesome.
It's still, I'm still trudging it,
Well,
but we can see the
doesn't
finish
matter,
line.
yeah, doesn't matter, you're kicking it, so
Mm.
keep on keeping on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So
ma'am.
thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
I
Bye,
appre
dear.
alright, y'all stay tuned and stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.